Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1, or shall I say Stop and Go F2, as we're looking now at my review and reactions for the sprint and feature races of the Formula 2 Down Under in the Australian Grand Prix. Yet again, much like in the Formula 3 and the Formula 1, another mental couple races here in the F2. Let's start with the sprint race. And now, before the sprint race even starts, we had two people out of the race, as both Fittipaldi and Ralph Boschung both went into the wall on the, not even the formation lap, on the lap to go to the grid before the formation lap. They spin and are out. Real shocking stuff. I mean, I remember Sergio Perez in Spa 2021, I think, hit the wall on the way to the grid, but that was extremely wet. This was a dry session, and this happened. Even more shocking for Ralph Boschung, as before this session started, he was the championship leader, not even being able to participate in the sprint race. Kush Maini also had a spin on the way to the grid, but was able to keep out of the wall and was able to carry on going. For the actual race itself, it was Dennis Hauger on pole with Jack Crawford alongside. The start was delayed by 5 minutes. I think this was just to move the cars that were in the wall. But when the start gets going, it was a fantastic start for Dennis Hauger, who was able to build a good gap at the start. Crawford is able to catch him pretty quickly, though, and he's on the back of him. There's a massive lockup for Iwassa, who has received a puncture. I can't remember who hit Iwassa, but there was a puncture there. There was a great move from Zane Maloney on Ollie Behrman for P6. That was on the fourth lap of the race. And Miami gets an impressive overtake done around the outside of Arthur Leclerc for P3. Now, this is when the threats of rain started. Over the radio, we're hearing rain coming, rain coming, rain coming. This was on lap 12, and we can see little spots of rain on the camera now as we keep on going. We have a three-wide battle for P7 between Isaac Hadjar, Ollie Behrman, and Victor Martins, and then Frederick Vesti comes along and joins this battle as well. Absolutely incredible. Some great racing. I was saying to my friends the other day that if you look at F1, F2, and F3, in terms of which has the best racing so far this year, definitely F2. Miles away, the best racing out of the three. This is where Doohan has a big spin after being hit by Correa. This is where we get our first safety car of the sprint race, because Doohan can't seem to get the car going again and is out of the race. This is when we have Pourchaire, Stanek, Correa and Cordeal all come in for the wet tyres behind the safety car, taking the risk that when the safety car comes in, the track will be wet enough for wet tyres and they can grab that advantage there. Stanek, though, as he comes out, the cold tyres, he instantly goes off the track in turn 1 through the gravel trap, but is able to keep on going. We get a spin for Correa behind the safety car, and that's when Zane Maloney, who was close to the front of the grid and hadn't pitted for tyres, he was told on the radio that they expect the rain to stop now. The rain is done, apparently. Cordeal comes into the pits, but not for wets. He goes on to the mediums. And then we have Martins, Deruvala, and Iwassa, and there was another one as well that I haven't written down. Who else pitted? I can't remember. Was it Benavides? It might have been Benavides. Anyway, they all came in and they pitted for wets. So Zane Maloney is being told the rain has stopped. Cordeal comes in to pit, but only for the wets. But then these four come in very late behind the safety car, it must be said, and they're pitting for the wet weather tyres. We get a late release for Victor Martins. And then Deruvala, as he's coming out, does the exact same thing Stanek did on the cold tyres, straight across turn 1 and back onto the track. Brad Benavides, he is then the safety car says, safety car coming in this lap, but Benavides, on the penultimate corner of the lap, he just carries on going and just goes into the wall. So the safety car was coming in, then has to carry on going on again. We get a 10-second penalty for Correa. Safety car is staying out in order to recover Benavides' car. Iwassa then pits again, taking the wets off and putting the mediums back on, and the safety car comes in with 2 laps to go. And then it's just Iwassa at the back, and in front of him, all the guys who pitted for wets, and he just destroys them. He gained 5 places in 1 lap. Theo Porcher goes off on the final lap, but managed to keep it, come back on and stay in the race. And that's when we have the checkered flag. It was Dennis Hauger who won, becoming the 5th new race winner in 5 races. So in F2, every race we'd had up until this point had a brand new winner, which is fantastic. Jack Crawford was in 2nd and Kush Miney in 3rd. I believe that was Miney's first podium of the year. And, you know, he has been very good. I think he's been very underrated this year. As we go on now to the feature race. On the feature race, it was Ayumu Iwassa on pole with Theo Porcher in 2nd place. Now, Porcher's had a bit of an interesting season because he came into Bahrain, dominated qualifying, dominated the race, and I think out of Bahrain, everyone expected him to just dominate the championship and completely run away with it. But he has not had it his own way as until now. In Saudi, he had the big crash with Behrman in the sprint race and then was pretty anonymous in terms of the feature race. So he's not really set the world on fire as of yet. And in the sprint race in Australia, he did all right, but he did go off the track at the end. Where did he actually finish? Let me just have a look. Porcher, where is he? Well, he actually retired the car at the end of the sprint race, so he was classified as 18th, but it was a DNF. So he did well in Bahrain, but between Bahrain and the start of the feature race in Australia, he scored no points. So he's looking to get his championship battle back up and going here in the F2. And as we lights out and away we go for the feature race, it was a great start for Iwassa. Then you have Hajar, who was in 4th place. He is catching up the back of Victor Martins and Theo Porcher, who are battling for 2nd. Miney is in the gravel, but is able to get through and continue for the race. And Doohan made a fantastic start, starting 15th, but by the end of the first lap was 11th. Fantastic. Ollie Behrman then gets a penalty for pushing someone off the track, and Doohan makes an incredible dive bomb, but ends up hitting Jack Crawford. So Crawford is in the wall, and that's when we get our first safety car of the feature race. There was a lot of safety cars. So Crawford is in the wall and out. We get a very busy pit lane now. So there were... How many cars actually started this race? Because they actually all started, unlike in the sprint race, but there was 22 cars in this race, all of them but 6 decided to use this first safety car period to do their pit stops. Behrman does his pit stop, and then as he's driving out, gets hit by Isaac Hajar, who had a unsafe release, and Behrman instantly gets a puncture. So not only has he got a penalty now, but he's got a puncture and has to do another pit stop. Doohan hits twice under the safety car, very similar to what we saw Sergio Perez do with the first safety car of the F1, where he was on the hard tyres, pits to the mediums, then pits back to the hards in order to make sure he's done the mandated 2 tyres that he has to do. Now he's on tyres that will make him last till the end of the race. It's very clever. So, let's see, what have I actually written down here? Right, so this is the main story of the race from now on, is the battle between Iwassa and Porcher for the race win. But they're both close to the front. I think they were like 6th and 8th. And the interesting thing is, when they pitted, there is a car between Iwassa and Porcher who has not pitted. So the real story of this race was, can Iwassa get past all the cars who haven't pitted and keep at least 1 or 2 cars between him and Porcher to try and slow Porcher down, so when these guys do pit, the gap is big enough. Very exciting stuff. Nissany nearly stacks it from P2, but manages to keep it going. But Fittipaldi has an incredibly aggressive move on Fittipaldi and forces him off the track. Nissany then hits Isaac Hadjar, and Pourchaire manages to pass Fittipaldi and is now right behind Iwassa. So Iwassa puts his foot down and gets past Miney for P2. And now, as soon as he got past Miney, it looked like, he's got a gap here, but Pourchaire was right on the back of Miney again. It was fantastic stuff. Pourchaire manages to pass Miney on lap 21 of 33. Ollie Behrman has a huge off, skipping through the gravel, but manages to keep on going. There's the 5-second penalty for Enzo Fittipaldi for forcing Roy Nissany off the track, and this is when Nissany crashes into the wall and is out. We get another safety car. At this point, Frederick Vesti was in the lead of the race, and he hits under the safety car, comes out in P9, but goes off in turn 1 through the gravel, managed to keep it going. We saw that a lot in the previous races this weekend, where the guys just have the cold tyres, there's not much they can do, and they just skip through the gravel. Fittipaldi spins off of turn 1, recovers it, taps the back wheel on the wall, recovers it again, is going down the straight, and then crashes into the wall. It was just a series of events, 3 or 4 events, that could have all ended a race until one ended the race. So we have another safety car. Well, the safety car continues going because this was behind the safety car when he crashed. And behind the safety car, we have Iwassa in first from Pourchaire, from Hauger. And as the safety car comes in, we have Hauger and Martins crashing into each other. So 3rd and 4th place crash into each other on the penultimate lap. They were 3rd and 4th. By the end of the lap, they were 18th and 19th, keeping on going. Vesti then overtakes for 4th place. Fantastic job from him. And now it was Vesti versus Leclerc for the final podium position of P3. Fantastic battle here. That's when we get the replay showing that Martins kind of locked up and hit Hauger on the second to last corner of the lap. And this is when Dennis Hauger retires the car. He was furious as you may expect. From P3 with 2 laps to go to out of the race, nothing he could do. He was absolutely fuming, understandably. And this is when we get to the checkered flag, and it is Ayumu Iwassa who wins the race, becoming the first repeat winner of Formula 2 in 2023, and becoming the new championship leader for Formula 2. But possibly his biggest rival in that championship, Théo Pourchaire, is in second place behind him. And then it was Iwassa's teammate Arthur Leclerc in 3rd place, completing the podium. And that was the Formula 2 for this weekend. Once again, fantastic racing. I'm loving the Formula 2 this year. It is really good, and it looks like we have a battle on our hands here. Pourchaire versus Iwassa for the Formula 2 Championship. It should be good. If we look at the standings here, let me just pull up the standings. So that's the Formula 3. Where's the Formula 2 standings? Formula 2 standings. So we have Iwassa on 58 points, Théo Pourchaire on 50 points. Then it's Vesti, who is now in 3rd with 42 points. Ralph Boschung, who was the championship leader going into this race, is now in 4th with 33. Actually on joint points with Arthur Leclerc in 5th. Jehan Deruvala is on 32 points in 6th. Hauger in 7th with 30. Zayn Maloney 29. Kush Miney 26. And then Richard Verschoor 25, completing the top 10. So the battle is really there between Iwassa and Pourchaire. You could really say as well, Vesti's in this as well. He's a few points behind, but if we see anything happen, like we did with, Théo Pourchaire, he walked away from 2 races in Saudi Arabia with 0 points. Vesti's going to be on him. He's going to be there. Boschung as well, I'm less hopeful for him because it seems like in Bahrain he got rather lucky than anything else. I haven't seen anything in Saudi or Australia that tells me he's really going to be up there for me. But there you go. Hero of the F2. I haven't written down who I want for Hero of the F2, but it was just a great race for everyone, really. Really enjoyable stuff. I'm gonna give it to Iwassa, I think, my F2 hero for this race. But yeah, he did very well and I was very impressed. So there you go. That is the F2 for this week. And now, very much like the F1, there is a month off of F2 until we get to Baku. But great racing and I can't wait to see what happens next. So make sure you subscribe if you're into the F2. We're covering F2 all year now. And also, there'll be the F1 driver ratings video coming out later today. So that should be a lot of fun. Until then, though, have a good day. I'll see you later. Goodbye.